DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool. Tonight's DJNTV show is sponsored in part by Electro Voice, DJ Event Planner, ADJ, NLFX Professional, Promo Only, and DJNTV Insiders.
You might have to hold the microphone. It's going to be DJ Rick Webb working the room tonight. That'll be good. The awesome part. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us. We are now live broadcasting out to Facebook and YouTube and places that we really don't even know where you exist tonight. And that's going to be awesome. My guest tonight is the one and only DJ Rick Webb. Good evening, Rick.
Good evening, John. How's it going?
It's going well. Going very, very well. For those of you who have not seen Rick's videos, seriously, get off from under the rock. I mean, really, in the description down below here on the YouTube channel, there are links to his channel. There's a link to the video that was the impetus for tonight's show. You got to check those out. He's got some great stuff out there, and he's got some tutorial stuff. He's got some gig logs and things, and a lot of it is going to be something that you will learn from, even if you're old like me. Because, you know, we've been doing things so long in our own way. It's always kind of cool to see someone come in with younger, fresh eyes who are going to be like, it's like, wow, I never thought of that. And it makes me feel bad, Rick. I'm just going to say it right now. It makes me feel bad.
Thank you for the compliment, John.
But it's great stuff. So you guys go to make sure you check those, check the links out down below.
No one knows who I am, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But my mom does, man. Mom does. So tonight we're going to be talking about the why and, you know, when you buy gear, the what and the why and such. We're going to dig into that. But before we do that, the impetus for this was a video, Rick, that you did, earlier this year talking about subwoofers. Kind of walk us through, why did that video get made? And again, that link is down in the description on the YouTube video. You guys can check that out. But what brought that video on?
So it's a very loved and hated video right now. But
that's a good way to describe it.
It was just, I got so many messages around Christmas time, and I just now got around to making it. But I got so many questions based on subwoofers, and specifically beginner subwoofers. Beginner DJs were asking me because I made a beginner speaker video way back in the day, I think like a year ago now. And they were asking me about these, like the #1 sellers you see on Amazon, the really cheap subwoofers. And I basically told them all quickly no, but instead of just answering every single message I was getting, I wanted to put a, how do I word this? A very concise knowledge of why I believe they're a bad idea in a way, and my reasoning for that. So that's why that video came about, and it's, like I said, it's a very blown up video right now, and it's also a very loved and hated in the comments, depending on
which way you fall. So that the idea after watching the video and such, I thought this would be a great topic for Rick to kind of go into, because Rick's going to be looking at gear purchases different than the way I would look at it. So I really wanted to get his input on that. So he put together some tips on that. So let's jump right into the methodology you use when deciding, what and why to buy.
Yeah, so like the subwoofer video, I have 5 main points I came up with for the little bit of what we're going to discuss today. And those 5 points for why I buy equipment is, number 1 would be application, 2, usability, 3 would be brand, 4, customer demand, and 5, prior testing. So we're going to dive into each one of these topics tonight, and John will also comment alongside these.
Yeah.
But
and I'm watching the chat room also, so if you guys have got something that you want to say or something, a question for Rick, please put that in the chat room, and I'll bring it to him between topic points. Okay, sorry, Rick.
So first point is application. So what do we need from the equipment to accomplish? In terms of sound, do we need sound for a 100-person wedding? Do we need sound for a 300-person prom? Or do we need it for a concert? Or are you trying to accomplish both? So what is the main application? And for lighting, what effect do you want to create? Do you want to create a wash? Do you want to create strobes? Do you want beams? Then you got trussing and all kinds of other stuff. What is the application that you're trying to accomplish with it?
So when you're looking at the applications, you mentioned a lot of different things. Are you recommending, because how does a person decide, okay, I'm looking at my applications and I want to do this and I want to do that, but my events are this. Yeah, and have any thoughts on that? How you really kind of narrow it down to making the logical decision based on your applications?
So your goal of your application, and this kind of funnels into our next point, would be the usability of it. So in terms of usability, you have weight, size, and then you can go further than that. If you're an older individual, weight's a very big thing for you. So that'll help narrow down your choices. Because you can buy a heavy speaker that can accomplish 300 people, or you can buy a lighter, more expensive speaker that also accomplishes 300 people. Then you also have to consider your transportation. Do you have a trailer, or are you just using your mom's minivan to travel around with, or a car? That'll determine how much you can carry and bring to a gig. Like for me, up until now, I hadn't had a trailer, so I couldn't necessarily get away with trussing because it's big, bulky, and takes up a lot of room.
Sure.
So I got away with using tripods and using the big extendable ones because they collapse down very small.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that to consider. And then there's also ease of use. Everyone loves a good passive rig, but it's kind of complicated for some people to set up a passive sound system. Same thing with DMX lighting or sound active lighting. DMXing is harder to understand, so the ease of use of a sound active light would be better than having to DMX a bunch of Chinese lights that don't have good sound active modes.
Not that we've ever seen that.
No. So basically the usability of the gear to accomplish the application is a key factor when you're considering gear, and when I'm considering gear. How user-friendly is it?
And you mentioned, of course, the smaller speakers that are going to be more expensive than some of the lesser, but they might be, even though they're more expensive, they might have more functionality, meaning that they could do a teen dance, a small teen
Correct.
dance. They could do a variety of different things, and I would guess that would factor into your decisions there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because you could buy 2 passive, say JBL speakers and a Crown amp to run them, or you could go buy 2 of the Evolve systems and accomplish the same goal. The Evolves are going to be a lot less weight, and they're going to be a lot more compact, and they're a little bit better technology than if you got a Crown amp and just 2 random passive speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And the passive speakers are going to be harder to set up, and vice versa. There's a lot of things you can consider in terms of your usability of that equipment.
Do you recommend, as far as when I get into this part of it, and you've been mentioning, of course, passive speakers, and we've talked power speakers. Would you recommend for people to be looking even at used things when we're looking at that, if they were deciding what to buy, or what's your feeling on that? Because I don't think you talk about new versus used in your notes here.
That is not in this these points, but new versus used. That's an interesting question because I bought both in terms of speakers and in terms of lighting. And it's one of those things that if it's a used product, as long as you do prior testing on that product to make sure, or at least verify the seller is legitimate on their word, then you'll have a good product. I bought my 2 movers that I own. I bought those used, and then I also bought 6 ADJ Mega Tripod Pluses, and the movers are fine. They were great. The seller was awesome, worked well with me. The 6 pars, I was having a little bit of sketchy with the seller, but I ended up buying them, and turned out 4 of them, the LEDs are they're not genuine. They're some sort of knockoff. Either they replaced them, or I don't know what it is, but they say all the ADJ stuff, but they're clearly not an ADJ fixture.
Ouch.
So, yeah, kind of had to toss those, but
yeah.
So, but new versus used, as long as you test them, you make sure they work, you make sure all the internals are fine, it can be a win and it can be a loss.
Good point. Okay.
If you have the money for new, it's normally a good idea to go new, but used, I mean, even my SZ back behind us here, that's a used purchase I got from there. But the dude that was selling it was a genuine guy, and I'm friends with him on Facebook. And he still had 6 months of warranty from, what was it, ZZ Sounds or something like that, that he transferred over to me, which legitimized the purchase for me that he was legitimate on.
Sure.
And that it worked.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's nice. You don't often run into that kind of things when you're doing online purchases, but when you do, you want to take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Back to our points, the next point is brand. So in terms of brand, we have things to consider on our products. What's the quality of that brand? And then also, is the brand good on their customer service? Because if something breaks on your product down the line, you want to have good customer service to be able to fix that. And the same thing goes for quality. That kind of can tie into the Chinese fixture kind of logic there.
Mm-hmm.
As in stuff like ADJ, Chave, EV, JBL, those all have their own quality control departments that verify that your product and also warranty your product when they give it to you.
Yes.
Versus buying cheaper knockoff items, Chinese, cheap Amazon stuff that does not come with warranties and comes directly from the factory and you're not sure if it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that you need to consider in terms of that. And then as well as the brand is the reviews. Are people online giving that brand or that product, same thing, good reviews? Is it a reputable brand that people know, like, and consider to be good? Do they like that product? So that kind of covers the brand. And
you mentioned, let's dive into this Amazon world, because let's face it, we're there.
Yes.
Because of me doing not only the Disc Jockey News, but I also do my handyman channel, and I have a lot of these Chinese companies that sell directly through Amazon contact us and send gear out for doing reviews. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned, of course, reading the reviews and things, and I can go through, and I know the way these companies work is they will send out a light to someone like myself and ask me to do a review on it and then write it on Amazon. 9 times out of 10, what they will do is they will make the offer that, hey, go buy 2 of these lights from our store, our Amazon store. As soon as I purchase them, then I'm to send them a receipt, a copy of the purchase. Then they will refund my money. So now I don't have to pay for these lights. And then what they would like me to do is do a review on their lights. And I did that this spring. I did get a couple of lights because I wanted to, we talk about the Chinese lights all the time. Mm-hmm. Well, in the email that I had gotten from them, there were 75 or so different emails from other people they had approached with this. So after they had been out for a little while, I went back and actually compared my list of 75, the names on that list, to a lot of the names that had written reviews, glowing reviews on the products. And all of them that were on Amazon were from that list of 75. So those who are thinking that, the reviewers were all saying they were great. Yeah, it's probably because they have basically kind of set themselves up in a way that somebody got free lights, so they're going to say nice things about it. In my particular case, the lights came and one of them was broken and one of them functioned, and I contacted the company, and instead of replacing it as you would think they would do, they wanted to shoot a video of it and send us the video. And then, well, you can take it apart and there's this little gear and you need to go and grease this gear, whatever. It's like, no, this isn't the way things are supposed to go. So yeah, reviews are great, but I think your point about reputable name brands is, as much as we may not want to go spend the extra money to buy it, I think you can't overstate that point, because there's just so many ways to lose money on things, as like your extra ADJ lights there that are knockoffs that are just basically junk.
Yep, pretty much. And that you point out the reviews. I don't know if maybe it's just me, I can tell, but when I see reviews, I look at them. I read 3 or 4 or 5 reviews, and I can normally tell if, hey, this was definitely someone that was given this product for free.
Oh yeah.
You can normally tell by the length of the review and how much they hype it up, versus if they're actually being honest, then they'll say some bad things and some good things about the product. That kind of is a clear giveaway. It's kind of actually dirty how they do what you were saying. They just refund you your money, because that way it looks like you're a verified
purchase. Yes.
You're a verified purchase on Amazon, which Amazon will rank higher on the reviews.
Yes,
I bet that's against terms of service, just saying.
I would say it probably is. That's one of the
seller. I bet it is. But
yeah, but again,
that's a whole nother
how they work their way around that. But yeah, just for those of you who had no idea that existed, it's out there, and you got to take it for kind of be a little skeptical when you're reading those reviews.
Don't take the 75 5-star little icon beside the product at face value.
Yeah.
Actually dive into the reviews and see what they're saying.
Yeah, for sure.
You can kind of tell.
Yeah. And
if you can't tell, ask a friend to look at it too.
Yeah. What do you think of this?
All right. So reviews, people like it, brand quality, brand recognition. That's huge in this industry.
I think so. And I think one area that I think is so valuable is that we have all these Facebook groups, and we can actually go and ask questions of people who have them. The world has become so small now that who's got the Denon 8000? What do you think of it? You can ask those questions. The only frustrating thing is that how many times have they asked that same question in these groups? It's like, dude, just do a search. Search it. You're going to find 47 people who've asked the same question, but that information is out there, and you can get information right from people who have had hands on the gear, and especially the name brand things. And that is so valuable compared to 10 years ago, where we didn't have this resource and you were kind of out on your own trying to figure out, what piece of gear is going to last me 2 or 3 or 5 years.
My favorite form of finding reviews for not just DJ products, anything I'm buying on Amazon, is to go on YouTube and search for a video. That's the most genuine reviews you will probably ever find. Is someone shot it on an iPhone or something like that and just posted the raw cut video of their review of that product.
Oh yeah.
And that's when you can see it.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of great reviews, and some characters who have done some things on there, and it's like, whoa, I never thought about using it and doing that with it, and it's always kind of cool to see.
All right, so we covered application. The application of the product was the application you're trying to choose or solve. The usability of that product will kind of narrow down what your choices are, and then your brand that you're looking at will also help narrow down your choices. But the fourth thing that a lot of us consider in equipment, it's not even that we consider when we're looking at equipment, it's what do the customers want out there? So in your area, are photo booths selling? Is uplighting selling? Or are venue halls already getting uplighting, so it's not a good idea to get into uplighting? Considering what the customer demand is and if you will be able to sell this and make your money back on that gear. Now, you could also just want the gear itself. That's
acceptable. It is.
That's also up in the air.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. But I think the what you can sell, I think you had what the customers are demanding or looking for and what you can sell. I think almost those two things are so intertwined in almost what you can sell, because if it's something customers are demanding, there's this window. Okay, I can buy it and I can probably sell it and maybe only sell it for one season, because as you were just kind of alluding to, venues, if they think uplighting is going to make them money, they're buying it.
Yep. And that's like one of the I can directly relate to this topic because I get questions all the time. When are you going to buy trussing? I'm not going to buy trussing until I have a client that wants trussing.
Mm-hmm.
I have the packages are up there on for them to buy. The schools know the packages that they can buy with trussing, and I just don't have a demand for it. I have one high school in Ohio that wants trussing. There's no sense in me going out and buying a bunch of trussing
For one.
that I use once a year.
Yeah.
And then I got to store it. That goes back to usability. I got to store it somewhere. I got to transport it. So customer demand, will you be able to make your money back on it, is a huge thing. Gobo projectors, all sorts of things like this we see in the wedding industry. Huge.
You mentioned, of course, the idea that, buy it if you kind of want it. Yes. How much does a person let that ego get into it, that I want to have the cool toys?
Don't let it put you in debt.
There we go.
Don't let it put you in debt. That's probably the biggest thing there. If you can justify the purchase for a usability standpoint, like why I bought the SRX and the VRX speakers, it was purely to lighten my load and only have to take 2 speakers. And also in that way, I could justify it. Now, like things like the DBX drive rack I put in my SZ case, that's a little harder for me to justify. I mean, I did kind of justify it in my head to make it worth it. Also, it's the same thing of like the SZ. Did I need an SZ? No, I probably could have got away with an SR for most of the gigs I do, but that will probably help my skill set evolve. So there's also that to think about. It might not be a customer demand, or it might not fit an application, but it might make you better as well. So there's another thing to consider. When you're
buying gear, and we're kind of talking about getting our money back out of this, how do you kind of deal with that? Because I in a convention series show I did a couple of weeks ago, I kind of went through and told how I kind of figure gear and how kind of return. Have you really sat down and thought about, okay, if I'm going to buy this piece of gear, if I'm going to buy trussing, how many shows would you need to have kind of lined up, or how would you handle that?
So I'm a very numbers person, being an engineer, very mathematical. So I actually do figure out, based on the gigs I've done the prior year, a percentage of that, and I put about, I think it's 30 to 40% of what the profits were, not the total gross of the year. The profits were back into equipment. I put that as funds for equipment, marketing, all that sort of stuff for the following year. Now, there's a bigger breakdown of like what the portion is for marketing and that, but I have Excel documents that figure that out. But I do definitely consider how much I made the previous year in terms of how much I can actually put in to expanding and equipment and that sort of thing. And also, like you said, if I'm considering to buy uplighting, how many times do I need to sell it? Same thing with a photo booth. And I've actually considered a photo booth a lot because I got a lot of requests for them.
Yes.
So I figured out that I have like 10 to 12 requests. Okay, so that means I could probably 80% of those. So I'll say I'll book it 8 times. What's my return on investment how much do I have to charge for those 8 events to pay it off, vice versa, that sort of thing. Numbers game.
Yeah.
But you definitely don't want to just go willy-nilly buying up all the gear in the world and not have a plan to return your money on it.
For sure. Good advice. Good tip.
And ever since I got like 4 years in, I've never actually like took money out to buy new equipment. It's always been based off of profits.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very, very, yeah. It doesn't happen most of the time. It's like, okay, I want to go. I'm going to the bank and taking out a little short-term loan so I can buy a new sound system.
Those first 2 Harbinger speakers I bought, I made that little bit of money spent. Like I saved up for a long time, and I knew I needed better equipment, but I just could not justify in my head putting on credit and stuff like that, taking out a loan or something like that at a young age to buy just 2 speakers when I have 2 speakers at work.
Yeah. Well, that was wise.
Mm-hmm. My dad thought so too.
See, your dad's really, we're going to get him on the show to give us some.
You don't want that. He was the most negative influence in my life for DJing. That makes no money. What are you doing?
Get a real job.
You're not making money. Get a real job. And I did get a real job. So if you're watching, Dad.
Take that, Dad. I'll show you all. Get that engineer job.
Anyways.
Okay, we're up to number 5. Let's hit that one. And then a couple of little sides I want to take after that.
Cool. So the 5th and final point here, after application usability, brand, and customer demand, is prior testing. And this is kind of like you've done everything else, you've looked through all the equipment, and now you are at the point where you have your narrowed list of what your speakers are going to buy, lights you're going to buy, things you're looking at buying in general. Prior testing. So this goes more into like lighting and sound and mixers, less on like trussing, more structural stuff. That there's no really prior testing to that, other than maybe how easy it is to put together. But so prior testing, have you actually tested this equipment before? I know a couple of my purchases have been impulse purchases after hearing speakers in person for the first time or seeing a light for the first time. I want that light.
Right.
So, and then you can go further into that. And this is one of the biggest things I always tell everyone that messaged me and says, what speaker should I buy between these 3? And they're all 3 about the same type of speaker. Go listen to them. America, we have Guitar Centers. There's also other stores. John could probably name more than I could.
Yeah, for sure.
There's Guitar Center. Go to your nearest Guitar Center.
Numerous sellers out there that handle a lot of different brands.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're into bigger like line arrays, you can get them to fly you out the demos and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I've learned that one recently. But testing them, and even if like a Guitar Center is 2 hours, 3 hours away, you're going to be dropping at least $1,000 more than likely on 2 speakers. So spending the gas to go make sure that you're getting a speaker you want and is going to do what you expect is huge. So, I mean, I can firsthand relate to that because I had no Guitar Centers around me in Cambridge. Now in North Carolina, I have one literally 10 minutes away.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But in Cambridge, the nearest Guitar Center was Canton, which was 2 hours away, or the far side of Columbus, which was also 2 hours away. So, but luckily I had other DJs, which is another thing. Get in with other DJs that have equipment that you might be wanting to purchase, and you can get demos that way too.
Certainly. Yeah, and I've had DJs come out to our office here because we do have a lot of gear, right, with especially sound systems. And I had one gentleman come out, and we just spent the afternoon setting up different sound systems and listening to different configurations. And does he like the 15 top better than the 12 top? Does he like this line better than that line? Does he like this manufacturer better than this manufacturer? And we went through. Because at that particular time, I think that was about the time I did all that 12-inch top series of videos. So we had 6 different brands of speakers here.
That was probably one of the most fun days ever, wasn't it?
It was crazy. But after a while, from my hearing, it all sounded the same. All the speakers sounded the same. The $200 speaker sounded the same as the $1,200 speaker because you beat your ears up so much. But listening to it later, it's definitely.
Yeah. But lighting, same thing. But lighting, you can kind of get away with watching videos. I would say you can get away with watching videos as long as they're not the shot by the company product video. Those kind of over exaggerate what the light can do because they want to give it the best lighting possible of what it could possibly do.
I spend a lot of time when it comes to lighting looking now at the actual manual of the books. Now that I'm getting into DMX programming and such, I want to see what the DMX channels will allow me to do with this light. Is it something that while I'm in there, I can go to a sound active mode if I'm just feeling lazy and I can go click and access it? Or is it something that I have to, there's no, automatic programs in there, macros in there. So I have to move, make each movement go. There's just so much of that I didn't think about 15 years ago. And I was just basically doing everything, plug and play and go. So
that's a big thing with movers. If you can zoom, if you could focus on the DMX or if it's manual, because that changes a lot of your programming. Because if you have to stay with one stuck focus or one stuck zoom, that changes your focus.
Very much so. Very much so. And it can be a lot cheaper, but it's, as you say, it could be some aspects of the light that when you, in the configuration that you want to use it, it just won't make sense because wait a second, I'm going to be using it and I want it to look good on this wall and then way over there at a time and over here and then this and that, and then the gear just doesn't work. And that takes us back up to the application at the top.
So yeah, prior testing, if you have the chance to listen to it, if you go to a gig and some other dude has the equipment and you like it and stuff like that, prior testing, getting firsthand experience with the equipment without actually purchasing the equipment is huge. You can also rent it too. That's another thing you consider. If you're considering buying something that's really expensive, try and rent it for a gig that you want to use it for and then see if you like it.
Yeah, and I've had some DJs come and rent some lighting or something from me in the past because it was something they didn't have, and they're like, "Can we borrow those for the night? Rent them?" And sure, go ahead. Mm-hmm. And it worked well, and the next thing you know, they went out and they bought. It was actually when the DOTS PARs, when those came out. And
really?
And they were like, "We're not sure if it's going to cover our dance floor." It's like, and they brought them back, and they were like, these were awesome. Next thing I know, they went out and they bought, I believe, 4 of those DOTS PAR pack trees. Mm-hmm. It's like, cool. Tell American DJ I sent you.
So you said you had some little side things you want to get into?
So one of the things that wasn't on my radar probably 10, 15 years ago that is today is I kind of also look now, if we're going to be comparing from reputable brands that are in the industry, I tend to look at some of the brands that are out there supporting different things. I feel, of course, education is a big thing. So obviously there's brands that support us as the Disc Jockey News, and I'm going to do business with them first just because that's how it works. But when I go to a DJ convention, I will find myself wanting to support a brand there at the convention and purchase their products, even if I can go and find the products, a comparable product on Amazon, from a different reputable company. That I guess that whole supporting those who are supporting the industry has become a bigger thing for me now. And I don't know if that is on your radar now or not, or if it's just how it works.
It is in a way. It definitely is a consideration that I take into effect. Like, definitely, I love Ben. Ben's the greatest dude ever, and I throw his name out all the time. But in terms of like the actual brands themselves, I definitely do look at which ones are putting more back into, if you have like 2 head-to-head businesses, which ones are actually putting in time to those conventions and stuff like that, and like donating their time to help further the industry versus ones that are focused on different forms. They're all focused in some form, but are they focused in mobile? Are they focused in production? What's their main focus that they're looking at versus,
Yeah, and there are some companies in the lighting realm, and one of them that just went away in the last year, actually about 2 years ago. But it was a company that came in and they were going to make this big splash, and they were, they didn't have that much interest in actually going, and they just wanted to sell gear to DJs. Well, that's fine, but they really didn't want to do this to help support the mobile beats or support the DJ expos. They were basically just there to sell gear as cheaply as possible, and people were buying their gear, and that was all fine and good. But it's like, I guess I'm wanting to, I'm a little more altruistic as I get older, that I want to support someone who is going to be sticking that money into keeping the mobile beats and those events, because those are great educational experiences that change people's lives in many cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, and of course with Ben is one that gives back so much to the industry with his education and his time of answering questions. And if people knew when we do the Tuesday night shows, which for those of you wondering where Ben is, we're kind of taking the summer off, letting Ben spend time with his family on Tuesday nights. We'll be coming back with Ben in the fall. But when we're getting ready for a show, he's like on his phone answering questions. So I'm getting everything around, and he's on, and then he puts the phone down. We do the show, and then when it's done, it's back, because it's
crazy. He's so on top of things. Yeah. If I need a quote on something, I just message him. I have a quote back in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you just always on here?
Yeah.
I send other people and I tell them, they're like, yeah, you got me a quote within like 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
And that's again, supporting those who support the industry, and Ben is a prime example
Dedicated.
of that. And there's others. Don't get us wrong. There's other great sellers that are around the country. At the DJ Expo, if you guys get there, there's a lot of great sellers there between Canal. You've got IDJ Now, who's there, and Music Trends.
IDJ Now, I've worked with them a couple times.
Yeah.
They're always on top of it.
Yep, those are good folks who come to the shows and support those efforts, and I definitely like to do business with those who support that. So. Well, cool.
What else do we got here?
Well, that was about it. I just wanted to kind of go through. I wanted to keep this fairly short because we find that 30 minutes works really, really quite well. So we're going to shut this off here. And if Rick, can you stick with me for a little bit longer?
Yeah, sure thing.
What I'm going to do, gang, is I want to put the link to this Zoom, and we're going to open it up so you guys can jump in with us for a little bit, and we can talk in the Zoom. But we're going to shut the YouTube video down. And that way you can join us, and we'll just chit-chat a little bit more here about some things, and then we'll be coming back with Brian Redd here at the top of the hour. So thank you for watching. Link is in the description there, and in the chat. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Brian Redd tonight.